again, Sash. How's it going?
Awesome. How are you going?
Going well, thanks. I see we're back in the WBC room. What's happening today?
I'm competing.
Competing? Once again?
No, just tasting some coffees.
Oh, awesome. Do you mind if I come in and have a look?
Absolutely. Come on in.
Thank you very much.
Almost done. Yeah, some of the natural processed coffees from few Nicaraguan coffee producers.
I've actually heard that not too many coffee professionals enjoy natural processed coffee.
Yes, you are right. Yeah, not many coffee professionals love naturals. And I guess I understand why, because 5 or 10 years ago, we did not really understand how to ferment naturals in the best possible way. They have a lot of flavors, but they also come up with a baggage sometimes, and that baggage these professionals did not really enjoy.
So, what's your opinion on natural coffees, though?
I love them. I love naturals. Like, for me, natural coffees are very complex, and of course, they can also be clean, and they generally have a lot of flavor-forward characters, which I find it's really easy to connect these natural coffees that have a distinct berry notes or tropical notes with the customers, and they can kind of really recognize these flavors.
What is the difference between a natural and a washed processed coffee?
Okay, so as we discussed in our previous videos, wash processed coffee, the first step is what we do is we take the cherry and we pulp the seeds, or we pulp the 2 seeds. With natural coffees, in theory it's a lot more simpler, but it is a lot more complicated. So we just pick up the cherry from the tree and we place that cherry on different surface areas in order to dry. And that can be done whether it's a concrete patio, it can be done on raised beds, not similar to this, but like with a mesh underneath, or it can be done in so many different ways. And then coffee dries to a certain % of the moisture, and then it gets culled and it's ready for us to enjoy.
Do you want to explain a bit more about those different ways the natural coffee can be dried?
Yeah, so there's normally like sun drying or mechanical drying. So when we talk about sun drying coffees, most basic one would be concrete patios. And as I was saying, like many professionals don't necessarily like natural processed coffees, but that's because they have most likely been dried on a concrete patio. This will give us a little bit more robust flavor and possibly a little bit more earthy, cardboard-like, not as balanced. Now the second step, we have raised beds. So imagine bed similar to this, with a mesh throughout the middle, more like a fly screen mesh, to allow coffee airflow to sort of penetrate really nicely. So this drying is a little bit slower. If concrete takes 1 week or 2 weeks, this would take an extra week and a half. But then we also have a raised beds drying with the shade on top. That means that we make sure that sun is not really sort of super aggressive with the coffees. Now, mechanical drying, there are a few different mechanical machines. One of the machines is like this big giant vertical machine that would reach temperatures of 60-70 degrees and dry coffee almost within 2 days. Absolutely not good. Really aggressive drying, coffee will age really fast, and it will not have enough time to develop these beautiful flavors. There's a guardiola drying, which is like a big drum or like a big wine barrel made of metal, and that slowly rotates. And with guardiola drying, farmers have an opportunity to introduce the heat and amount of the heat as they wish. So they can really control the quality and try not to possibly dry coffee more than 40 degrees to extend the shelf life.
So it all sounds pretty complex, and I'm assuming that has a great impact on the flavors.
So a lot of coffee professionals, they're not huge fan of naturals because of these boozy notes, whiskey notes and pungency. So I'm gonna do some drawing to explain you why are we getting booziness out of the coffee. Hopefully I don't get in trouble if I use this cardboard. So let's say this is a coffee cherry. And as I mentioned earlier, we normally have 55% of water inside. Our goal is to bring this all the way to 11%. Now, what we need to make sure is, we need to make sure that when it comes down to sun, we're not reaching a higher temperatures than 40 degrees. because when we dry coffee really fast, we're going to start damaging these coffee beans. So obviously we're not looking at a sun temperature 40 degrees, but we're looking at a bean temperature, because we might have a day of 28 to 30 degrees. But then if we don't really mix up these beans on the beds, sun, or if we have a black background, sun is going to penetrate, it's going to increase the temperature of the beans. So it's super important that we keep mixing it on the beds while coffee is dried. But now in so many countries or tropical countries, during the night, humidity goes really high. And in some places almost up to 100%. And the temperatures on the really extreme altitudes, they go very low, maybe 15, 16 degrees. And this is the problem. This is the problem because during the day, we might be drying this coffee and we are, let's say we're sitting at 50% today. And then the nighttime, when humidity increases, temperature decreases, all of the water is going to come on the surface of the bean. And then during the night, this water is going to come back inside of the bean. And instead of having a 50% of the moisture, when we wake up in the morning, we're gonna have 55 as an example. And what that's done is, that's actually bringing the moisture back in the bean, which is damaging the cells of the coffee. And it's also giving us a negative water activity, and way too much water inside of there, it's kind of going to like drown all of this goodness and proteins and everything that we love in the coffee so much. So what we're trying to avoid, avoid these activities. And we're not drying the coffees in this way, but we're trying to create the environment where coffee steadily goes from 55% to possibly 50%. During the night, our goal is to control the humidity, not to go higher than 65%. And this will mean that we won't be getting an extra excess moisture. And then following day, we continue drying and on and on and on. But we also need to make sure that we're not having a really hot temperatures. And this is really challenging for quite a few countries, Colombia, Central America, because that's how it works in most of these countries, and most of them would do wash process coffees because it's a lot less risky. I hope that I didn't lose you here. I went a little bit deep, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, Sasha. So to end this off, what is your favorite type of wash coffee and where is it from?
All times natural process coffee is Ethiopia. Main reason why it's a high altitude, beautiful varietals, and also the most perfect condition to dry natural process coffees. Temperatures during the day are 22 to 24 degrees, and humidity during the night does not go any more than 65%. So that makes it really easy for farmers to do natural process coffees without risking and getting all of these activities that I mentioned earlier, and giving us these boozy, unwanted notes. Really nice, clean, and lovely coffees.
So now that we've talked about natural process coffees, where are we going next? What's the next step?
Next time we're going to talk about honey coffees. All different ways of doing honey fermentation. So looking forward spending some time with you again and talking about that.